We had Kenny Omega returning, plus facing off with Okada, two Will Ospreay bangers in one night, Adam Copeland returning and putting together Rated FTR. Man, World's End was fire. Let's not even waste time and let's get straight into it. The moment Ospreay's music hit, we knew we were in for a treat, as the first match was Will Ospreay vs Kyle Fletcher. And going to the pay-per-view, Kyle and Will had two matches prior, with one taking place after Kyle had turned heel. And basically the story was that Kyle had seen a lot of himself in Will and hated himself for it. So he shaved his head and started wearing different gear on top of cutting promos on Will mostly every week. They had an amazing match at Full Gear that saw Kyle win, and in my opinion, at World's End, they topped that match. The intensity from Kyle, matched with the athleticism from Will, was peak, and it's something you should go out of your way to see. After a wicked blade job and a Styles clash, Will would advance to the tourney finals held later in that night, which sounds unreal in itself. Following a C2 banger, we had another C2 matchup, Ricochet versus Okada. For most of Ricochet's run, he's gotten clowned for mostly everything he's done, which in my opinion has led to AEW mostly playing into it just a bit. And man, did they really hammer that in tonight. Okada, on the other hand, although still Kazuchika Okada, it's clear he's been coasting it in and not really trying. They started off hot with his debut, but legit haven't done much since. I actually ended up really enjoying this match. Sure, it wasn't Ospreay Fletcher-esque, but it delivered. And for a second, I legit thought Okada broke his neck. Just look at this landing. Fortunately, Okada was perfectly fine and would hit Ricochet with the Rainmaker for the win, advancing and making the C2 finals official, Okada versus Will Ospreay. And I don't know why, but I would have never guessed these two's first match in AEW would have been under these circumstances. But shit, I'm not complaining. After Okada won, we hear, and unfortunately for Ricochet, he was still in the ring. Swerve comes out and then cuts a short promo on Ricochet, and next thing you know, Nana comes wheeling down toilet paper, starts passing it off to the crowd, then Swerve counts down from 3, telling the crowd to throw it at Ricochet. And Ricochet just sat there and took it. Bro, I was crying while watching this. And I know some people will probably clown this and clown AEW for just doing this in general, but I'm giving it a chance. I'm sure this is nothing but fuel for Ricochet's heel run. Or at least I hope this is nothing but fuel for his heel run. The women's division, since Toni Storm lost the title to Mariah May at All In, has suffered badly, not even gonna cap. Besides Mercedes having bangers almost every pay-per-view, the women's world title has been regulated to promos, segments, or against people we know for a fact have no shot of winning. It's almost as if this reign was created to give Toni time to flesh out her character, which shouldn't be the case. And like Mariah's reign, this match wasn't that good. Sure, it had its moments like Mariah taking Thunder's dad's cane, and Thunder Rosa using the table as a ramp, but it didn't hit. And to make things worse, this came right after two pretty good C2 matches, so the crowd was pretty dead. It ended when Mariah got the win after doing Toni Storm's pile driver through a table. When Adam Cole got injured at the end of 2023, that messed up a lot of plans, as Cole was in a feud with MJF that probably would have saw him win the AEW title. Fast forward to Adam Cole and MJF both returning at Double or Nothing, then fast forward to where MJF turns heel on Daniel Garcia, and now you magically have a face Adam Cole and a bad guy MJF. Then once you mix in Undisputed and the Undisputed Era, it gets real confusing and kinda dumb. Cole and MJF wouldn't necessarily have a bad match here at World's End, but it wasn't good or close to it. I will say though, Cole looked a lot better physically and looked healthy when it came to wrestling and just taking bumps. He would lose, then afterwards get almost Pillmanized by MJF until Roddy and Kyle make the save, reuniting and trying to reboot Undisputed Era for the 4th time now? Y'all remember when AEW announced that Meat Madness match last year, but it got canceled due to most of the wrestlers being injured? Well, this match with Takeshita and Hobbs was basically that, but with 2 men instead. Admittedly, the build-up and the reason these two were fighting isn't as strong as it could be or as some would like, but the match was extremely solid. It started off with some boring limb work, can't lie, but the rest was spectacular. Big man doing big moves. An amazing crowd. I mean, everything. The vibes were there. Stiff blows, top rope suplexes, top rope power slams. This match greatly exceeded my expectations, and Takeshita would get the win. At Full Gear, Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander would put on one of, if not the best women's match in AEW history. So it was really no brainer that this match was going to be even better, if not on par. And in my opinion, that's exactly what happened. They exceeded what happened at Full Gear in every way possible. The spots, the limb work, everything. Bro, Mercedes even pulled out a sit-out tombstone on the apron. This match was sick. The only thing I disliked was the crowd. They came alive at the end, but man, they were dead throughout this whole match. Mercedes would win, then afterwards, Chris received a standing ovation. Incredible match that's worth the time. Will Ospreay versus Kazuchika Okada. That's all I have to say. When you hear these two names, you know to expect something great, especially when matched up together. And for these two's first time matchup in AEW, they showed up and showed the hell out. The sequences, the moves, the reversals, this match was literally perfect. And to think these two were just wrestling earlier in the night is even more crazier. I know I just said Mercedes versus Stat was worth the time, which it was, but if you're going to watch one match from this pay-per-view, this has to be it, without a doubt. Okada, to my disdain, would end up winning the match to become the second annual Continental Classic winner. Oh my god, what a tongue twister. Afterwards, while celebrating, Christopher Daniels came out and said he would come down and give Okada the title, but he's no longer an EVP, so he can't. He then says, but this man can. Then comes out Kenny Omega, returning to AEW in the first time in almost a year. The two would have a stare down with the AEW Texas banner in the back, basically telling us when and where this spectacle of a match will be happening. Ever since All Out, where Moxley turned on Danielson, the Death Rider storyline has failed in almost every way to grasp and pull people in like they initially did. Repetitive promos, nothing of relevance happening, and the never-ending wait for someone to debut. The storyline is mid. And this match didn't help that stigma in the slightest. It started with some pretty uninspired brawling and didn't really elevate much past four popular wrestlers just wrestling. Besides the Shield powerbomb to Moxley, there were legit zero high spots. Then you add in a charisma vacuum like Wheeler Yuta, helping Moxley to win yet again, and yeah, no surprise this match didn't hit. Thankfully though, afterwards when Moxley tried causing extra harm to Jay White, FTR returned back to AEW, and they brought with them Adam Copeland. FTR then attacked Death Riders, and then we get an insane stare-off between Copeland and Mox, which then leads to Edge hitting a spear and a 6-man tag announced for this Wednesday. In my honest opinion, World's End delivered in every way possible, from Ospreay pulling double duty and putting on bangers, to the surprise of Kenny and Adam. This show had everything. Sure, some parts didn't hit hard like the women's title match or the Death Rider storyline, but when the highs are highs, it's kinda hard to complain.